Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Listen Up Podcast. It's your boy Brandon.
This is your boy Sam.
Yo, man, we back again, man. This episode, 113? Man, we've been doing this for a little minute now. When I think about it, man, we skipped over 100 and just kept moving, man. I think we stopped keeping track, man. We just started going, man. But we back at it, man. Sam, what's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. Working, trying to do some transitioning, and you know me, I'm always trying to stay busy.
Nah, I feel you on that one. Same. Work. That seemed to be the adult life, man. I'm tired of working and fighting with folks you don't need to be fighting with.
True that.
Yeah. So, what's going on?
This actually should be a pretty quick show today. We got some pretty good stuff set up. We got a big what if later on in the show. We're gonna start that segment.
Yeah, definitely
got Travis Hunter.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man. We'll dive into it, but the boy seems to be a human highlight film. But we'll definitely dive into it a little more. We got Brian Kelly. I mean, he upset some folks, I think, earlier in the week or whatever about some comments about slingshots and whatnot. And then we'll also talk about a little bit of dive into a little bit of recruiting, man. You know, summertime is all really about recruiting. Ain't much going on when it comes to playing the field and stuff like that. So we're gonna dive right into it, man. I guess let's start with the most recent, not really the most recent, but what happened earlier in the week, man. Looks like Brian Kelly came out and basically said, I didn't need, basics. I ain't need cars. I don't need cars and slingshots and all sorts of stuff to get recruits. I bring them on campus, show them what our team about, and he commits. A lot of people felt like he was wrong and disrespectful for saying that. He took a lot of, I don't care. I'm sure he don't care, but he took a lot of hits over that day. Unfortunately, I actually agree with Brian Kelly on that. We talked about it on the last episode. We didn't need all that. Like at Florida State, I don't think you need all these gimmicks and other things in order to get a recruit. And again, I think you got to cater your recruiting style to the person and not just, all right, if I bring the slingshot can't be for everybody because everybody don't care about slingshots or cars or bounce houses or whatever it is. Like I think you said last time, what's name may have wanted to go to the fishing hole. He may have wanted to go, you know what I mean? He wanted to do something else. He cared about the academics more. You know what I mean? Right. Like you don't really know, but you can't, like, I don't think cater your approach to gimmicks because everybody's not necessarily fooled by it. So when Brian Kelly said it, I was like, it sounded to me like maybe he understood this kid a little bit more than Florida State understood this kid. You may have had to have Kane come in separately. I don't need you on a gimmick day. We need you to come in, on a Wednesday or whatever, when everything kind of chill or whatever. You can have your own private. We let you see some facilities. You talk to the coach. You know what I mean? Like just make it a little bit more private or whatever, because it seems like that's kind of what Brian Kelly did.
Yeah. I think I mean, you shot your shot. You got him on campus. I think the more concerning thing about the whole recruiting approach would be, we are getting people on campus. We're not seeing them commit yet.
Yep.
That does kind of that does kind of bother me because the hype is not matching the actual results. You know what I'm saying?
Results. Yeah, right? and that's really what scared me, to be honest with you. I don't want to say because it's too early to be alarmed, and we still got a long way to go. But when I look at it and I say we've had 3 really huge recruiting weekends. We had the spring game where we're the only one who invited who invited players to it. We had over 100 kids. I think we netted to 0 on that one. I think we lost 2 and gained 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a net 0.
Right.
We had the mega camp we didn't get anything out of, and then we had Midnight Madness and we didn't get a single recruit out of it. And so, I mean, I'm hearing people talk about silent commitments and crystal balls and all sorts of stuff, but my thing is, where are the actual players? You know what I mean? Where are the actual people who were saying, oh man, this weekend was great, I can't believe it, blah, 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 and now I'm committing. I'm shutting it down, I don't see enough. Because I would think if you do something that grand, you want something to return. You won't return on your investment, in other words. You know what I mean? If I'm and I'm talking, and most people want immediate dividends. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my opinion, I don't think it's just enough to say, all right, well, he might commit later on, because then my question would be, well, what kept him from committing then? You know what I mean? What like I just gave you everything. In other words, I proposed, right? I brought your family down, I done did everything. I proposed. I don't want a commitment next week. Well, I ain't really sure if I want to marry you just yet, but give me some time to think about it.
Right.
I'm like, well, damn, I just did this, I just did this huge gesture or whatever to make you, to propose. And at the end of the day, you told me you got to think about it. I'm just not sure how that I'm not sure really how it looks, and I'm not sure it's again. I've been saying it. I don't know if it's necessary. I thought the best thing that they've done in the last few years was when they were gonna host practices down in IMG.
Right.
That was about the only. I mean, because that was actually, IMG is a factory. They got good players, good coaches, stuff like that. You can maybe get a couple players from out of there.
Who hosts the players down there?
Willie.
Oh, well, yeah, and people call that a disaster too.
It was a disaster because they said it was poorly, like it was just unorganized. But that was the thing they said about Willie the whole time. You know what I mean? All this stuff was unorganized. I think the idea was fine, but the execution usually and most times was lacking with Willie.
Yeah, that's true. It is weird though. That guy was so poorly organized and all that other shit. But for some reason, them kids would commit on campus, which I find weird. I don't know what's going on because there is a side of me that says that all these kids are just taking their time to commit. Yeah. And I understand that, right? You want to get around, see as many coaches as possible, take your time and commit. But then there's like another side of me that's kind of like, if they go around and see other coaches and these other coaches are better recruiters, do they commit to those coaches?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily know how this is going to work out. I still think because of the class size that we're going to bring in this year and next year, I still think we bring in 2 top 10 and top 12 classes.
I agree with that.
This year we got what? 1, 2, 3. I think 3 different makers that can play. That's going to be able to play day one, and Duffy, Sam, and
Hunter.
Yeah. So if we could do that again next year, I think that puts us on a path to have a really good season in 2020. What that 2024?
24. Yeah.
Yeah, 24. So that put us on a really nice trajectory.
Here's what
I do worry though. I don't mean to wreck you up, but I do worry that. Do you get so organized and you start winning 8, 9, 10 games? You get like Mullen. But does the ceiling, do we hit our ceiling as a staff, as a recruiting entity at top 10, top 12 like Mullen has? Like, do we do that? Because, I mean, I guess that's where I'm kind of looking at. Because I don't
want to put Mike in Dan Mullen's category, man. Dan Mullen is a clown, man. Like, is an absolute, like, you saw the video we saw the video that came around or whatever. Like, whoever is advising Dan is poorly advised Dan. Whoever just saying okay blindly to the stuff that he does is it's like it's not doing their job. There's some failures in Florida. Like we talk about whatever it is, but there's some failures in that part. That video was creepy. That video was creepy and dumb.
But then it's authentically that though. He's authentically that goofball that.
Yeah, but we talked about it last week. The reason why Chris Marv can't get players is look like because he's very much like Dan Mullen. In the bit of, these kids ain't really, they ain't looking at them like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the reason why their recruiting classes are not 5 to, are not top 5 where they should be when Florida's winning games,
right,
is strictly because of Dan Mullen. Like, I think it's 100% on Dan Mullen and his package with Jordans.
Well, I don't think Dan Mullen, how to put this? I don't think Dan Mullen, I don't want to say he don't value recruiting. I'm going to say that he doesn't put recruiting at the very top of his list. Like,
I see what you're saying.
There's other things on the top of his list than recruiting, right?
He also thinks he can plug in anybody and be successful.
Right, because he's done it, right?
True.
Right.
I can understand why he would feel that way.
Right, but he hasn't done it on a national championship level of doing it, but he's done it as far as, I can win 10 games. He can basically be Mark Rick at your program, right? He can just basically just recruit good enough to get 10 wins, and you literally could never fire him. You would never have reason to fire him. Like, you won't like him. You'll be upset about it, but you won't be able to fire him ever because he's going to win 10 games every year. And
It's
I think,
it's funny. It's kind of the same thing that's happening with their basketball team and Mike White. You know what I
yeah,
mean? He keep getting to the tournament. Like nobody thinks he's gonna ever win a championship. He ain't never
right.
gonna be able to recruit high enough. I don't even think he's that good of a coach, but he keep making them to the tournament, and so it's kind of hard to find a coach who always in the tournament every year.
And I always say that's the worst place to be to me. I'd rather be shitty.
Yep.
Like I'd rather be like if a Jaguar fan, I'd rather be 0-13 than to be 7-9 every year.
Yep.
Like I hate being stuck in mediocrity because you can't get out of that.
Yep.
Like that coach basically has you in prison. Like you can't get out of that. You can't fire him, and you're never going to win anything. That's the worst place in the world to be to me.
And that's what I think football and basketball for them right now is it's kind of like that because I don't think Dan can ever get them over the top. Like I think Dan is good for, like you said, consistency. I think they'll play in a New Year's Six bowl just about every year, if not every other year. They may miss a year, you know, on a transition year or something like that, but they're gonna always be good. They're gonna always give you 9-10
But the
wins.
fact that they're gonna go into games, big matchups. I'm talking about big matchups against Georgia, Bama, even A&M coming up, and they're not gonna have the best players on the field. They're gonna have to scheme around, and you know. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of terrible when you have Florida. And that's the same thing at Florida State. And I think we look at Florida State. You got to win some of these big time head to head. You got to win battles that nobody thinks you're gonna win. Like you got to be able to go
100%.
grab. You got to be able to out recruit people for Dalvin Cook. You know what I'm saying? You got to out recruit people for who did we get? We got Dalvin Cook. I think the biggest. People always say the biggest Jimbo signer was LaMarcus Joyner. I will argue that the biggest Jimbo signer was Nigel Bradham.
Why
that? He was the first recruit that Jimbo targeted and said, I got to have that guy. Yeah, right. Like he was a 5-star all-world player, and the program was bad. It was bad when he went and got Nigel. You know what I'm saying?
But it was bad when he got LaMarcus too, though.
It was, but it was bad. But I'm saying with Nigel, it was bad. So he got him to commit to a bad program, a program that had no upside. So to me, that's just a dog on a trail doing work. And then
I mean, well, never mind. I was gonna make a.
Once you get Nigel in, you sell that belief to that 5-star, right?
Yeah.
Now it comes full circle when you go grab Greg Reed, right? Then you go grab Joyner and Luke. And it just kind of feeds itself, right? I think that's what we're kind of hoping that Terrence Hunter becomes. Hunter becomes the
Travis
guy.
Hunter,
yeah. Hunter becomes the guy that just feeds into the success of grabbing big time player because he's not a goof troop, right? Even Duffy seemed to me. Well, I don't know about Duffy, but Hunter seems to me like a type of guy that he won't dogs around him, and we hope that transitions to success on a trail because it doesn't seem, other than like 2 guys on the staff, maybe 3. I think one thing you can get his whole staff credit for, Mike Norvell does a great job of evaluating quarterbacks early, getting on quarterbacks early. That was something I thought Willie struggled with. Completely. I thought that was something that
he can get quarterbacks to commit. He is not going to have a problem getting quarterbacks to commit.
And I
for whatever reason, he don't have a problem getting quarterbacks to commit.
And that to me is a much. If you got a position that I need you to be able to evaluate and recruit well, the quarterback position is the one you got to be able to hit on, right? 100%. I mean, it's basically save Dabo at Clemson, right? Like if he's not gonna do nothing, he's gonna get a 5-star quarterback to commit every 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So if you can do that, that can create success in recruiting because at least everybody know with a great quarterback, we got a chance to win on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a great thing.
No,
other than Atkins and Woodson, I think there's a lot that's being left out there, and I do think he needs to reshape some of this, staff, and but we'll get into that during the season. But it just doesn't seem like those guys got the, just I got the juice, like everybody's call it.
No, they definitely don't. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, we heard before that Mike has don't commit to us until you done taking visits and all that. You know what I mean? Right. And my thing is, I'm wondering, could that be the reason why they haven't gotten more? And also, I mean, does that really work for him? You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, it's, we've heard he basically said, listen, commit to me, cool, but you done. You know what I mean? Shut the recruiting down and be committed to me. And that's a real all or nothing approach. I
I don't.
wonder how that has
I don't. I don't.
affected these big weekends. You know, in other
Yeah.
words, if I got a whole bunch of kids coming in, right, and I got a whole bunch of them, and I got some guys saying, "Man, listen, you absolutely my favorite, man. I want to commit," and then Mike comes in and says, "Listen, I appreciate that, and I want you to commit, but
Right.
understand, commitment means you done recruiting. You don't. I don't want to see you at Texas or at Georgia or at Alabama next week or next month. You committed to us. You got to shut it down." Some players may be like, "Cool, right?"
Yeah.
But there's a whole bunch of other players who like, man, these recruiting weekends fun as hell. I'm going out, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm going to Oregon, I'm going to Bama, I'm going to Georgia. I don't necessarily like, even if I am committed to you 100%, but I'm not shutting anything down. And
Right.
so that's what kind of makes me think, like when I see a lot of hear people talk about silent commitments and hear people talk about and putting their crystal balls for this player is probably coming to Florida State. I think this guy's coming to Florida State. I wonder how much of that is I'm just not ready to shut down my recruitment yet. I commit, I really like you guys, but I just ain't ready to shut down my recruitment yet.
Right. I think I I don't have a problem with that process, right? I don't have a problem with you saying shut the recruitment down, but before you commit, because I think you want all your guys in. I think you want to know exactly what you got. Um, I don't have a problem with that personally.
Okay.
Um, I do think that is you got to have, as long as he got drop dates and drop times. Like, hey, by
Okay.
August, I need to know by August.
Right.
I
Before
got
the dead period, before we have to, we get into not dead period, but before we get into the season for real, and I got to focus on coaching, and recruiting kind of falls to the second, third spot.
right,
I need to know something. Yeah.
right. So I think that's a big deal. But something I did want to say. I think the one difference between Mike Norvell and Dan Mullen, I think Mike Norvell values recruiting way more than Dan Mullen does. I just want to say that. I don't want people to be like, but Mike cares about recruiting. Yeah, he cares about it way more than Dan Mullen. I don't think Dan Mullen even wants to show up to half those damn events. He damn sure don't dress for him. But
Dude, they had a baby shower set up for the last recruiting event.
yeah,
Man.
yeah,
It says we don't care.
yeah,
Like that. Man, that was a baby. That looked like a baby shower. It was real tacky, like the rest of the things that recruiting is not a priority over there. It's not. In other words, we're gonna let the brand be the brand, and we're gonna, I guess we're required to do some things. We may have some, money tied up to us showing up to certain places, but I agree with you.
yeah,
I think he knows. I'll get some guys. I'll plug in a quarterback, and he'll be good. I'll give me a quick guy who I can, get the ball out in space to, and he'll do some things. And right now they got three big time running backs, which is the first time I think Dan has ever had, a run game. So I'm interested to see kind of how he handles that piece of it, because I've always known Dan to be just, spread it out and throw it. So I'm interested in seeing how he handles having, actual running backs, because he ain't had I don't think, in my opinion, a good back that he utilized ever. So I look at it. I just think recruiting is very important for Mike Norvell, and I think he understands that and he knows that. Also, they're in different positions.
right.
I think Mike has no choice but to make recruiting his number one priority. You have a team that doesn't have any talent. When you have a team with no talent, recruiting better be the most important thing in your, what I mean, in your space right now. Because if it's not, you're in bad shape. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
I
but
think he knows he needs that in order to get back, or to, and one, shoot, to keep his job, and two, I think to get to a place where Florida State can win 9 and 10 games.
yeah,
You're gonna have to build it
but I
through
also,
recruiting.
but I also think that Dan Mullen, I mean that Mike Norvell genuinely believes in relationships and likes
Mm-hmm.
talking to people, likes for people to listen to him talk. I think he really likes for people to listen to him talk. I think that he's all about that type of stuff. And so I think that pertains to good things, right?
Yeah.
I think somebody asking me about the difference between him and Willie. And I told somebody that Willie is int- introvert, somebody that doesn't like to talk as much.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, I, it's hard to explain, but some people,
No,
some people, some
I
people,
know
some people,
exactly what you're saying.
right? Some people,
Mike comes in the room and he's going to command the room. He's good at being the center of
of
attention. He's good at
attention,
being
right,
he's
right,
good at being the focal point. Like again,
right,
like when we were there with all the coaches and everybody, but when Mike walked in, it was Mike's show. You know what I mean? And part of that is because you're head coach of Florida State, but part of that is because
you
Mike
like,
understands.
yeah,
Mike, you know what I mean? That's what he like. He gonna walk in and he immediately is, confident.
right,
Like one thing about I told you, he's a close talker. He's very confident. He gonna shake your hand, pull you in close, and have a, you know what I mean,
right,
and try to really engage in what you're saying versus everything else. So
yeah.
one of the things that Mike is so I know for 100% certainty. Yeah, Mike is definitely more. I want to say confident, but it may not be. You know what I mean? But just
It's
more
not.
sure of himself. Just more
It's
sure of himself, I
some
think, than
people. Some people like.
others.
Some people like the one-on-one conversation. I
Mm-hmm.
think Willie is more of a one-on-one guy. I think
Mm-hmm.
Mike is more of a crowd and
Mm-hmm.
get in front of people and likes the one-on-one things. And I
Yeah,
think Jimbo was really good at both.
very good at both.
But Jimbo was a person that liked to talk ball. Like Jimbo liked it talking ball. So
Right.
if you knew anything about football, and he remembered every damn thing too. So if you
He
like played,
remembered
if you
what
played,
play. Yeah, he remembered
if you
what play you made, what quarter, the time, the down, and the distance.
I never forget. I was at like one of his first little. I think it was 2011, maybe 12, and he had the football players there, all the former players there, and he was talking to them, and God damn, what's my guy name? Kes McCord. Kes McCord.
Mm-hmm.
He spotted Kes McCord while he was talking. He like, it's Kes McCord, right? And then he starts talking about this play that Kes McCord made against Florida.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He's a,
And
yeah. He's
so
very much
so
a
yeah.
computer like that. Yeah.
So people like, yo, that's wild. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, he remembered like this is exact play by Kes McCord. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Mm-hmm.
so he really gets down into the weeds and that type of stuff, and remembers every coach name that's ever coached any
Yep.
sport. Yeah, it's right. It's weird. So he's a computer like that. So that makes people feel special. So but I think overall, I just think might need a few tweaks to the recruiting roster as far as the coaches wise. You need to be able to keep Atkins, I think, for another 2 years. I would think. I think if you can
He
keep
did a good job by keeping him from
LSU,
LSU.
yeah. But I thought that if LSU calls you, I think that was a good opportunity for Atkins. But I also think that at
But I think
LSU,
I think Atkins believes he likes what he's building. You know what I
right,
mean? In other words, if I am who I am, then Florida State is LSU. You know what I
mhm,
mean? If I can do what I think I can do, and I believe in what Mike's selling, and I believe in what we're doing here, then Florida State is LSU. You know what I mean? I told you, I
right,
thought they're very similar schools. So in my opinion, I look at it and I say, man, this is just the same. That's a lateral move to me if I can get Florida State to where they need to be. So
mhm,
I think he looked at it and said, "Nah, I'm good where I'm at. I've already started building something here. I already got a lot of kids tied to my name. I got some big time recruits that I'm pretty sure he believes he's getting, and I think he's gonna get too. You know what I mean? So now he's looking at it and saying, Nah, I ain't got to go to LSU. I ain't got
right,
to go to LSU. I can like Florida. I can get Florida State to where they need to be. Florida State has won the championship recently as well. So I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not going to throw out everything just because LSU came and called. And
right,
so I actually respect Atkins for that. I do. I agree with you. I think you have no choice but to get rid of some of these. I want to say get rid of, but either add some pieces or start swapping out some coaches because I think
I think behind
Mark.
the scenes you look really. I think behind the scenes you're good.
Yep.
I
No,
think behind the
I'm
scenes,
talking about. You got to figure out what's happening on your defense right now. I mean, because I don't think you have a recruiter outside of Woodson. I don't think you have a recruiter on your defensive side of the ball.
but they say John Papuchis is not bad. I just don't think he's elite, but I don't think he's bad.
Well, my question would be then where has who is Pop brought
Well, you
in?
did sign those two. We got two 4-star defensive ends last year, and I think he's going to get two
Okay,
more
we
this
did.
year, right?
Okay, so
He
then
had
yeah, you're
George
right.
Payton, right? So he had
Yeah,
those
and he had
guys,
to recruit. You're right, and he got
right?
the transfer from Georgia. You're right. I'm gonna leave Pap alone. You're right. Pat
Yeah.
may be all right. But
And Pat did
Marv
a really good job on special teams too.
an excellent job on special teams. I'm not even going. I'm never
Yeah.
gonna say nothing about special teams.
Hmm.
He transformed special teams the way he's supposed to.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I talked about Marv last week. We know about the furniture. Ain't did nothing in several years. I think you gotta start making some tough decisions. I think at this point, and your defense coordinator, we ain't even gonna get on him.
Right.
So hold on, it's
So
funny.
what?
It made
So
me
let's
think
get
about
to
that. Somebody, hold on, real quick. Somebody's Reggie had posted something. And somebody was like, "Man, y'all gonna regret all these tweets if Fuller's in his bag next year." And I found that to be wildly hilarious because I couldn't figure out what Fuller's bag was. Like I sat here trying to and I really thought about it. When he said it, I was like, Fuller, if Fuller's in his bag. And I tried to figure out like what is Fuller's bag? Like what if then I was like, okay, take it out of Florida State. Let me think about Memphis. What is Fuller's bag? Like what is Fuller known for? You know what I mean? Like I couldn't put it on. I couldn't put my finger on it. Like the fact that people and that somebody could type out them letters onto Twitter to say Fuller be in his bag, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me what his bag was, and neither could the person after saying it.
Yeah.
He was like, "No, I'm just saying next year." I mean, what bag? What bag are we talking about? Because I'm telling you, I've never seen a Fuller bag where I'm like, oh man, boy, he was calling it up, he was dialing it up that day.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. Like I looked.
He had a few moments in the North Carolina game where I thought he did some pretty good stuff in, but hey,
That's a small bag.
it is a small bag. But let's get to what position do you think Travis Hunter plays in college?
Man, I honestly don't know, man. Well, I ain't even gonna tell you. I want him to play wide receiver.
Okay.
The kid is silly special, man. Like, so we had three. Cam Newton 7-on-7 yesterday. He had 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions,
Right.
which seems like every single week he lines up for another 7-on-7. He ends up with 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Right.
One of which is floating around the internet, floating around social media right now. I want him to play wide receiver. I think his ability to high point the football, change direction, is deadly.
Yeah.
And so I think you put him with, AJ Duffy, and I think you can really have a special offense. Like special offense. But it's hard, man, to say you're gonna have but it's hard to tell me you're gonna get Jalen Ramsey again on defense. You know what I mean? Because that's what they're getting. Because that's what's wild about Travis Hunter. Not only you getting that, you get Jalen Ramsey on defense as well. I want him to play wide receiver, but it's hard not to. And I don't think playing both is an option. I know I heard a lot of people say he's gonna play both, and I don't think both is an option.
I gotta see him. I gotta see him become a Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that's like for me.
Dude, are you watching these? I mean, I know they're 7-on-7s.
I know. I'm saying
every week this dude is baiting a quarterback, making a crazy interception. I have not seen him hit. You're right. I've not seen him hit nobody, and that was the thing that made Jalen Ramsey special. Jalen Ramsey was physical, but the dude appears to be a dog. Yeah. And if you tell me you giving me a dog, that means he probably gonna hit like that too.
Yeah.
So I'm saying he has all the measurables of Jalen Ramsey. I'm not saying you're right. It's hard to put anybody in that category because Jalen Ramsey stepped on campus day one, and everybody knew he was a first rounder. And what I'm saying is, I think Travis Hunter gonna step on campus day one, and everybody gonna know he's a first rounder at DB. Man, I don't know. So all I know is I have never been happy about a recruit since Jameis Winston. I ain't never been excited about a recruit since Jameis Winston, and I'm telling you, every weekend I'd be like, please stay in the fold. Please don't go nowhere. Nobody say nothing to him. Don't no fans tweet him nothing wrong. Let this man come. Like whoever his friends are, like I don't care if you got to give 1 stars or whatever. Kid ain't never played football before. You got to toss him a scholarship because he asked for it. His daddy want a church. His mama want a Bentley. Get whatever you got to do. Keep this cat in your class because he is by far the best player on offense and on defense. It's not even close. Like he looks bigger, stronger, faster than everybody he goes up against every single week.
So I'm gonna say this. I think what he becomes is a gadget guy on offense.
Mm-hmm.
His first year, maybe first 2 years, he becomes a gadget guy on offense till you get more playmakers on offense, right?
Right.
So I think you look at him at like 15 plays on offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I think. I think he's 15 plays on offense. I think ultimately he is a defensive back. I think the smart decision is for him to play cornerback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can play longer in the league at cornerback.
Yeah, I think he wants to play cornerback.
And you can play early in college at cornerback, right?
Mhm.
Wide receiver is going to take a lot longer to learn how to play wide receiver on
Yep.
on that level, right? So I think
Mhm.
he's a gadget guy wide receiver in college the first 2 years of his career
Mhm.
because we don't have any explosive athletes yet, especially if
Right.
Destin Hill don't end up here. So I think that's what happens, and I think he becomes a defensive back. Now, I think the problem is, does he become a day one start at defensive back? Because I think
100%.
Brownlee will be a red shirt,
100%.
a red shirt junior, but when I look at the other side of Brownlee, does Kevin Knowles hold him up from playing defensive back? I don't think so. But Kevin Knowles
Nobody
is really
holds
good.
Travis. First of all, nobody is
No,
holding
no.
Travis
Well,
Hunter from
I'm
playing
just saying in
defensive back.
general
There's
though.
not a play. As much as I respect and I like the guys we got at DB, none of those guys keeping their position, and they got to know that.
So I think he ends up playing cornerback, and I think he splits rep between Knowles. And I don't really see anybody else over there, so it's just probably just Knowles is the press. But then you got the other guy Sam, that's pretty damn good too, athlete. Because somebody talking about Travis Hunter playing free safety, but I looked at it, I was like, I don't think he's a free safety.
He's not a free safety.
Yeah, I don't think he's a free safety.
No, he's a cover corner. Put him on again. You put
But I
him on
think
your
the
best
best,
receiver, and you tell him lock him down.
but the
Like,
best thing about him though, when you really look at it though, he'll come to a defensive backfield when he gets here next year. That's gonna be pretty veteran laden because Travis J will be in his third year.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't care.
Brownlee be his third year.
It's gonna be some hurt feelings. Like,
No, I'm not saying.
I mean,
I'm not saying he's not going to play. I'm saying he's going to come to a situation where he
I
may not
agree.
have to be depended on. Like he'll
No,
be
no,
able
no.
to
I
get
don't think
slide
he
in and
has to be
play.
dependent on at all. I think I
Right.
agree with you. I think the position they recruited the best is DB.
Mhm.
I don't like. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's better than them.
Right.
When he steps on campus, he's going to be better than them, and they are veterans, and they have earned a starting spot. But at the end of the day, this dude is going to be better than them, and he's better than them now. And so
Right.
I look at it and I say, somebody gonna probably be out. Somebody's gonna either get their feelings hurt, they're gonna transfer, because there's no way possible for. I don't think there's any way possible he don't see the field. I think you put him on whoever, like day one. I think you throw him on whoever the best receiver is on the other team and tell him, all right, shut that down. And
Right.
I think he does it. And I think he does it from the moment he steps on. I mean, you look at his side. Just look at him, at his body compared to the other guys he's going up against. It
Right.
looks unfair. You know what I mean? It's very rare when other kids are like, yo, this kid's a cheat code. This dude's a cheat code. Like, but I'm watching other recruits, you know what I mean, tweet that about him. It's not even just like the player, like what's his name? Bud Elliott was I guess there yesterday, and he was just live tweeting plays, just like, yo, this kid is unbelievable. This kid is amazing. Like, I ain't never seen that. Like, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that we're seeing every week. I don't think we've seen it before. Like, I mean, when Jameis was around, were they that many 7-on-7s? I don't know. I've never really been a follower recruiting like that, but I don't remember seeing these highlights every single week. You know, with James, we knew James was tough. The funny thing is, the video I remember the most about James was they had some like I may have been I don't know, some sort of camp or whatever, right? Where they had to do like the NFL, we had like the moving dummies, and you had to hit, you know what I mean? You got to hit them to get points or whatever. Yeah. Like they had that with all the other big time quarterbacks who was coming out, and James went last and hit every target. Then like did like the hammer dance and threw it like 100 yards or some crazy stuff like that. Just like literally was just joking around the whole time, but hit every single target and won it easily. Yeah. And that was the thing I remember. I was like, "Whoa, this kid gonna be special." If you tell me he gonna be, if you tell me that this kid is gonna, is getting highlights every single week, and that's why I'm looking at Travis. I'm saying this kid is giving me highlights every single week, and it's a new highlight. It's one-handed catches. It's somebody else he done locked down. I agree with you on the gadgets. I don't think you can play both positions 100%. I just think you become, it's just too tiring. Yeah. But even at top physical shape, it's too much.
And maybe he plays punt returner, right? You put him at punt returner, kick returner, something like that.
Yeah, but do you want to get him? I mean, I don't think you risk him on punt return. I think I feel a little better about him on kick return than I would on punt return.
As much as you value special teams here, you need to put your best players on special teams.
Yeah, that was always Urban Meyer thing. Yeah,
that's always. I mean, it's a big special teams. You could be good, really good on defense, and special teams and actually win football.
And win games. Yeah. No, you're right. Listen, I think if he's your best athlete, which I think he will be, I agree with you. Put him wherever. Like let him be Percy Harvin, man. Play everywhere.
I like him in that defensive backfield if those guys develop. If Travis J develops a really good free safety,
Oh,
if
you gonna have a
Brandon,
tough. It may be tough
Brandon
for
Gant,
anybody.
if Brandon Gant develops like I think he can at strong safety, if
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Knowles can develop, and if
Mm-hmm.
God dang, what's the other guy name? Sorry about that. I don't even mean. I feel like I'm being disrespectful talking about the dude like that. Jarvis Brownlee can develop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think he could develop, and then you still got Damari Tate if he can get healthy and develop. I mean,
Right.
you got pieces there. That's why I keep trying to tell people. What they keep talking about. We got it's some positions on this roster that needed overhauling. The defensive back position was not one of those positions. That's why it made no sense for people to be running wide ass open like they did last year. So, they got a lot to figure out
Man,
because
they
it's
regret
talent
the
there.
defensive back group regret. I mean, the defense regrets as a whole, but the defensive back especially regress because I agree with you. I think they got 4 and 5 stars all over the backfield.
There's pieces there that you just need to coach up better. So let's get into my next topic, man.
All right, come on.
All right, so I'm gonna start doing these topics. Actually, it's gonna be a separate thing I'm gonna put on YouTube, but I mean it'll be in the show. But I got a big what if. Like, what if this thing happened instead of that thing happened, right? So my big what if is in 1998. So Florida State played who? Florida 97, Tennessee 98, and Virginia Tech 99, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So my big thing is, let's say Florida State, let's say Chris Winkie doesn't get hurt. He doesn't hurt his neck. We beat Tennessee, right? For national championship. Easily, right? Beat Tennessee. And Peter Warrick decides to come out and go to the draft, right?
Right.
So Peter Warrick decided to go out kind of draft. Does he get drafted over Torrey Holt? Which I think he would have, right? I think he would have got drafted over Torrey Holt. And if he gets drafted over Torrey Holt, does Peter Warrick become a Hall of Fame receiver?
So
hold on, before you go. Torrey Holt was a damn good wide receiver in college.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know if he gets drafted over Torrey Holt. I think that's where it gets that's the piece that is gonna be difficult for me to kind of.
He had 5 touchdowns against Florida State.
Oh no, I remember that game. Yeah. I remember that game like it was yesterday. I was like, I didn't know this cat before coming into the season, but at the end of that game, I was like, okay, so we ain't got nobody who can guard him. Got it. Okay,
Torrey Holt was faster than Peter Warrick. Peter Warrick was not straight line fast.
Ooh, Peter Warrick was straight line fast, but Peter Warrick was straight line fast. I watched them highlights again. You realize he was straight line fast. He just also was shifty.
Nah, bro.
He was one of the most shifty players I've ever seen in my life.
He wasn't that straight line fast guy. Like Peter Warrick was like, and that's why you'll see guys catch up.
He wasn't straight line fast like Torrey Holt.
You're right. I'm saying like he ran like a 4.6 at the combine. Peter Warrick did.
Yeah.
That like usually you want your receivers to run like 4.5. Probably.
But he was
4.4 or 5. 4.6 is a kind of.
Because you touch him but you couldn't touch him in open field, and it didn't matter.
Right.
That was the thing that's made up for it.
Right.
If it was 1-on-1, whoever was on defense was gonna lose.
First of all, this is not a Peter Warrick bashing session. Okay. Not bashing Peter Warrick.
Listen, you already know my favorite player. I get defensive with Peter Warrick. Peter Warrick was my all-time favorite Seminole. Period.
But my question is, do the St. Louis Rams take Peter Warrick instead of Torrey Holt with the number 6? Because it was the number 6 pick, and it'd have been out of Peter Warrick and Torrey Holt.
I say if they do, right? Because we're doing what else. If they do, you put Peter in that offense, and I think it's simple. He does the same thing. That's
one of the first spread offenses.
Right. You put him in that system, and it's over with. It's college. It's college all over again. It looked like what he was doing. It'll look very similar to what he does in college. And I think you just flip-flop Torreys. But see, here's the thing. The difference is Peter Warrick had to go to a perfect situation to be successful. Right. I think Torrey Holt was going to be successful regardless. Right. Torrey Holt was more successful because he was in that offense.
Right.
But I think you would have put him anywhere on anybody's team, and Torrey was going to ball out because Torrey was different. But I think you put Peter Warrick specifically in that St. Louis Rams. Oh man, it's over with in my opinion.
I mean, because if you think about it, the St. Louis Rams had Marshall Faulk. They had Isaac Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
That the wide receiver Azir Hakeem. So
Mhm.
Peter Warrick actually wouldn't have, and they had Ricky Poole too. Ricky Poole was a pretty good wide receiver also.
He wouldn't have been. Yeah, he wouldn't have been one.
He wouldn't have been one. I think the fact that he went to Cincinnati, he had to be a number one, and they played a strictly pro style 2 wide receiver, run the football downhill type
It wasn't his
situation.
game. Yeah.
It wasn't his game. But if you'd have played him with the St. Louis Rams, I think Peter Warrick actually becomes, I don't know if he becomes a Hall of Famer, but I think he have a damn good 10-year career.
I was gonna say he has a much longer career as a number 2 or 3 option for somebody, because he also would have gave you a whole lot on punt return too. See, the reason why they couldn't use Peter Warrick on special teams because he was your number 1 wide receiver. Right. And I thought where Peter Warrick would have been even more, would have been super special is on special teams. I don't think they had Peter play special teams until like maybe the 3rd or 4th year when he wasn't really working out as a number 1 wide receiver on offense. Then it was like, all right, well, let's try. You know what I mean? Let's utilize some of his talents. Right. But my thing was, I think if you had drafted Peter Warrick in St. Louis, like you say, he wouldn't have been a number 1. He would have been like 2 or 3. Right. And so a 2 or 3 receiver, you can absolutely put at punt return from day 1. Right. Now you are already getting dividends. He would have played, he'd have played 10 years just as a special team alone, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So now I think you put him in as special teams. He also catches everything. He makes some plays on offense. And I look at it and I say, that man has a career very similar to, I mean, he don't have cheetah speed, but I think it's very similar. You know what I mean? When you tell him you can, because with all those weapons in Kansas City, when you add that
St. Louis.
No. I'm talking about Kansas City. I'm talking about cheetah. Like I'm saying, it's a similar situation. Okay. I think he would have been the prototype, I think, for what the cheetah is doing now. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, you got Kelsey over there. You have a decent running game. You look at everything, you say, all right, now I got this as basically what is called, just a luxury speed guy. Right. Luxury speed playmaker who I can get the ball to in space and he can make something happen with it. And I think that's the role Peter Warrick would have played in St. Louis.
Right. I think Peter Warrick ends up close to the Hall of Fame. I think he has a good 10-year career, and I think we look at his NFL career differently. Because if you think about it, he was starting to get better when Chad Johnson got to Cincinnati. Remember?
Well, that's the thing I never understand, right? Because I agree with you. He started to get really, really good when he became the number 2 option. Right? Him and Peter and Chad did had a really good 1-2 combination. And then at that point, and then he got hurt. And they gave up on him. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, and I don't think he ever found a system that fit him. Like, he never, like, man, I always say NFL is very tricky because you look at Leonard Fournette in Jacksonville. He wasn't good in Jacksonville at all, but I didn't think he was a bad running back. I thought he was a bad running back but it looks like it was more Jacksonville than it was Leonard, because we saw Leonard go with Tom Brady.
But he was a top 10 back the year they went to the playoffs, though.
He always still got ran down by linebackers, and I never understood.
He wasn't fast, but I'm saying he was a top 10
NFL running back shouldn't get run down by linebackers, though.
Linebackers are pretty damn fast in the NFL nowadays, bro. You see what Devin White you see how athletic Devin White is, bro?
You talking about one of the rare linebackers. I'm saying most running backs,
Miles Jack.
Most running backs do not get run down by linebackers. Not even Miles Jack and Devin White.
All the Pittsburgh linebackers.
All right, I'm not going to this Leonard Fournette. I'm not going to this Leonard Fournette.
There's Butler from the Colts.
Listen, all the linebackers are fast. It's the NFL. They all fast. What I'm saying is running backs do not get run down by linebackers. They just don't. It's very look at how many times you seen what's the boy from Panthers get run down by a linebacker?
Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey don't get run down by linebackers.
Christian McCaffrey is fast though.
My point exactly.
He's fast. Anyway, I ain't gonna get into all that. Leonard was a good back.
I was saying all this to say
Leonard was a good back. He just should have been drafted that high. If you draft Leonard at the back end of the first round, it's a good pick. But when you draft him,
it still would have been a good pick. I just think it was a bad fit. Like, I think that's what I'm saying. What I was saying, like I was translating it to Peter Warrick. Man, there are certain teams I don't think fully understand their fit sometimes. Okay, we need a running back. Jacksonville, we need a running back, so therefore we're gonna draft Leonard Fournette because we need one. Right. And so then we grab because he was technically the best back, but not really understanding he don't fit what we're trying to do here, which is why you swap out Leonard Fournette for Robinson.
Robinson. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Robinson running back right for Jaguars, right?
Yeah.
And his name Robinson. Yeah, Robinson wasn't highly, but he fits better. And they realized in the camp, we're gonna get rid of Leonard Fournette. And everybody was like, I don't understand why. And matter of fact, I'm gonna get T-Wick credit. T-Wick called me. He said, ain't got nothing to do with Leonard not being good. He said Robinson fits. He fits the scheme, what they trying to do better than what Fournette did. And you look at it, and it was 100% fact. 100% fact. He absolutely fit what they was doing better than what Leonard was doing. But Leonard then leaves, goes to Tampa Bay, gives him a championship, and plays great because he fit what Tampa Bay was doing better than what you know what I mean. So it's just I think you look at these situations, and I think NFL GMs have a lot more.
They've gotten better with this though. NFL GMs
they have gotten better.
They've gotten
but
better.
GMs
Back then, I don't even know, bro. Back then, I don't know how they even select the player. Because if you look at some of the bust back then, you'd be like, well, why did you even draft? Like,
why did you draft him?
Like,
yeah, why did you draft him?
Carter that went to Cincinnati, it made no sense. Like, you look at him run, it's like, what made them think that shit was gonna translate to the NFL? Like, it's just a bunch of guys. Like, even quarterbacks. Like, you watch certain quarterbacks, you be like, well, how did you think that quarterback? Like Achilles Smith. I like Achilles Smith, but if you look at Achilles Smith in college, and then you look at him translate him to the NFL and what they were trying to do in the NFL, like,
at that time,
that was gonna work. Like, it made no sense back then, dude.
I don't think the recruiting departments was as like the scouting departments in the NFL was as I don't want to say advanced as they are now. You know what I'm saying? Like scouting, they've always had scouting departments. I just don't think they was as important.
Now these scouting departments understand drafting players to a scheme instead of drafting players that's good, lift weights, and are fast, right? Because I think the ideal is I get a fast, strong guy, I can teach him. Mm-hmm. Now they get a strong, fast guy, but they get a guy that fits the system. Like they be like, okay, what fits the system? And I think actually, to be honest with you, I think that's what kind of got Caldwell in trouble. Mm-hmm. He was drafting good guys, but some of those guys didn't fit the system. Right.
And I think that's why every GM who messes up, that's the again, I think if you got into the place where you can get drafted in the NFL, you're a good football player.
Right.
Because the percentage is so small, right?
Right.
But I do think you get to these teams and you just don't fit what they trying to do versus what you were trying, you know what I mean? What your skill set is. Like who is like doggone it. What's our defense in? The pass rusher got drafted by the Denver Broncos. Yeah, from Jacksonville. So Walker, I don't think fit what they were trying to do in Denver. Yeah. I get it, right? You wanted somebody to spell Von Miller, but him and Von Miller aren't the same style of player.
Right, but he doesn't play that position though. Like he's been having a good career at Denver, but Denver's asking him to be a part of like a turbo defensive end package that he comes in. And I mean, and he does what I think DeMarcus Walker gets like 4 or 5 sacks a season.
Right, but I think in a different scheme, you put him in a different team, and I think he's not a scheme player. You could put him in; he can be a legit starter. You know what I'm saying for somebody. That's just my opinion. I just think I look at teams and I say I don't necessarily understand what they're trying to do or what they're doing. I mean, again, like you said, they've gotten a whole lot better at it. They've gotten a whole lot better at figuring out how players fit into what they're doing, and even molding what they're doing to the players, depending on how good you are. Right. But getting back to Peter, I don't think Peter ever should have been drafted as a number 1 wide receiver. That just wasn't him.
Well,
not in the NFL, not the way not the way that they needed him. Yeah, not the way they were playing back then. Like like I said, it wasn't today. Oh man, you throw Peter in anybody's offense today, you'd have been,
Right.
Yeah, I know he got to like, dang, 10 years later, I'd have been, you know what I mean? Not everybody playing college offense. Right, yeah, no, today. But back then it was, running back, 2 tight ends and, 2 wide receivers.
But he would have basically went to the first spread offense at the St. Louis Rams.
And that's what would have been so dope about it.
I think he would have I would say that I think he would have been close to a Hall of Famer. I think he'd have been the argument for a Hall of Famer. And I do still think Torrey Holt has a Hall of Fame career. But I think the bigger what if is, does FSU win a national championship in 99? Because I think they win it in 98, but they don't win it. Do they win it in 99? Because do all the defensive players come out the draft in? Do Corey Simon come out? Does Derek Gibson come out and go to the draft and Peter Warrick leaves?
Here's the thing, though.
Because then you probably don't beat Michael Vick and Virginia Tech. You probably don't beat Miami.
Peter Warrick had what 3 touchdowns in that game?
Yeah,
One punt return,
yeah,
a punt return and 2 passing touchdowns, and one of them was just a ridiculously sick pass in the field, all sorts of stuff. I don't know if you win it. I don't know if you win it again because Vic was by himself just showing out. You know what I mean? Vic was showing out.
I think Vic wills that team and but I don't even know if we make it to the national championship though, because I think Miami was on the rise at that time.
You might be right.
Remember 99 Miami? I mean, hold on, let me check this real quick. And I want to say it was 90. It might have been the 99, might have been the 2000 season that Miami's on the rise.
I can't say they don't make it to the championship.
Do you beat Florida?
I don't know, man. Peter Warrick was such a difference maker, man.
He really was.
That senior, he was easily the Heisman Trophy favorite, and he couldn't get it because of some, controversy stuff. He was by far the best player in college football. They wasn't even close. And I'm looking at, I'm saying, yeah, I don't know how you can remove the best player off of college football and tell me you're gonna beat Florida or beat Michael Vick. You know what I mean?
So think about it, dude. You played the Yellow Jackets. They was number 10 team in the country with Joe Hamilton.
Yeah, they'd had it tough. It would have been tough. He was making all them teams look stupid.
And the Hurricanes, you beat the Hurricanes by 10 points. You beat them 31-21.
Yeah, no, you probably don't. Because I guarantee he accounted for 2 touchdowns in that game.
17-14.
You
beat Florida. You beat Florida 30-23.
The margins was too close.
The margins was kind of close, right?
You don't win a championship.
But that team also was kind of bored too, because they would get up on teams early and kind of like relax, and then teams would come back on them. Like that happened a lot that year.
Yeah,
they would get bored. I mean, it was really dominant. So, but I wonder. I don't think the offense. I think the offense would have been fine, right? Because I think you'd have got Chris Winkie back. I think Snoop would have stepped up. You had really good receivers already. But I think the problem would have been if Peter Warrick leaves, does Corey Simon leave? Does some of them linebackers leave? Brian Allen and Polly, like does some of those guys not come back? Derek Gibson, does he come back? Because if they leave, then yeah, you might be in some trouble there.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing, right? I don't know.
That's a big what if though.
It is because see, what I'm thinking about is, do they? As much as I respect Snoop, I don't know if Snoop was enough to. I know you say he would have stepped up because he would have had to. I don't know if Snoop would have been able to fill those shoes, man. Those are big shoes to fill.
They had another punt returner for Florida State. My boy, what's his name? Reggie Jackson, I think his name was.
Peter.
I know. Peter was different though.
Like I'm telling you, and this is me fanning out, but I'm gonna tell you, I could look at Peter and see how he swaggered to the back there to the punt return and be like, oh, he taking this into the house. He's gonna take this into the house. Like you would look at him and see how he was going to, you know what I mean, how he would swagger on and be like, oh no, he finna take this one. He finna take this one. And sure enough, he'd get out there and he'd take it. Like he played with guys a lot. Like it wasn't every time you knew he was gonna take it. But I'm telling you, sometimes you could look back there and you knew, all right, we need to play. And he knew we needed to play. Offense don't kind of, struggled a little bit or whatever. We ain't scoring a few possessions. And he just kind of swagger on back there and you'd be like, oh, he finna take this into the house. And he would. Like, I don't think that's replaced. I don't think you replace that. I think he's the difference between the championship and not. And what's crazy is I think Hunter might be close to that. Like when it comes to the impact. I'm telling you, I don't get hyped about recruits. I like Hunter a lot. I mean, listen, he's not Peter Warrick. He ain't that type of player, but I think that was once in a lifetime.
You just get out of control sometimes.
But what I will say is I think he's the difference between, I'm not gonna say championship or not, because I don't think Florida State as a whole has a championship level. We talk about different elements, but I do think he's the difference between wins and losses. I think he will make a difference when it comes to wins and losses.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he does. I think he definitely has that type of impact.
Yeah, like in other words, I'll add 2 more wins to whatever season. You know what I mean? Whatever I thought they were gonna win next season, I add 2 wins to it because he's on the team.
All right. I mean,
that's what I mean. Impact. I'm not saying he's the difference in championship. We ain't that level. I ain't talking about that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. But yeah, no, I think he definitely is a difference maker having him on your team versus not.
All right. Well, that's my big what if. If Peter Warrick would have, if Chris Winkie doesn't get hurt, they win a national championship in '98. Does Peter Warrick come out? Does he go to the Rams? Does he have a Hall of Fame career? I think
Share your thoughts.
Share your
Definitely share your
thoughts on
thoughts,
that. Let me
man.
know what y'all think about
Yeah,
that.
when we post it to we're gonna post it to the timeline, man. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on that one, man, because I think it's a huge what if, man. Peter, if you're listening, man, you're welcome on the show anytime, man. I want to know your thoughts on this. You know what I mean?
Man, I don't even know we'll be able to keep you under control. Like you'll
I
have
ain't
to
gonna
have that
lie.
show by yourself.
It's very. You're right, because I got a whole bunch of questions. I got a whole bunch of stories. It's funny, man. I was a wide receiver in high school. I modeled my entire game after Peter.
How
Like
did that go? How did that go?
not well. I broke my ankles. I broke my own ankles several times. But I tried. I tried to do a lot of the moves. I just didn't have it.
All right. That's cool. That's funny.
Hey, man, listen, we appreciate y'all listening, man. Rate, review, subscribe. We, as always, man, we appreciate. Hit that like button. Apple, iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. We all the way. We there, man. We out.
Yo.
Yo.